Hi, so I am going to show you how to go and put color into your document. So here you can see I've got my photograph here. So to put a photo in here, you would go to Place and you would browse for your image and then you would just place it in there, okay? And you can, so you can shrink it. See the way it distorts? So you can make it larger, smaller. So it's a comfortable size for you. Okay, now the first thing I want to do is we have these different colors here, and you can see that they've got Pantone numbers here. So there's 715 and 7547. So I'm going to make some square boxes, and I'm going to make 5 of these. So I used the rectangular tool and made a box holding down the Shift key so that they were square. Copy and paste. So I did Command C, Command V. So I've got these two. I'm going to copy and paste one more time. If you don't remember the command keys, they're up here under Edit, so you can say copy, cut, paste right there. And Command Z is the one you always need to remember. That's the one that saves me all the time. When you make a mistake, just hit Command Z. Okay, so here are these color swatches that I'm going to use from here. Now, I'm not just going to use the eyedropper from here. What I'm going to do is grab the Illustrator has built into it Pantone colors. And so you find those by going into Window, and then you're going to go all the way down until you find Swatch Libraries under Window. And then you will see, if you do it right, get it coordinated, color books. So here are a bunch of different color books, different brands, and I've talked about some of them. Toyo was one, and different companies. But Pantone is, in this country anyway, the most popular. Excuse me. So there is Pantone CMYK. So they have taken all their Pantone colors and broken them down into CMYK breakdowns. That's not what we're going to use because we're working on digital. So we're going to use solid coated, solid uncoated. It doesn't matter. It's the way the inks have more shine to them when they're printed. And then they've got other books that are the neons and the metallic, but we're not going to worry about those. We're going to do solid coated. So I'm going to click on that. And so when you open it for the first time, generally, let me open this. It's going to look like a bunch of little squares. So you can look at it as a thumbnail view. So this is the typical one. And see the way it's got all these little dots in the corner? That means that it's not a CMYK breakdown, but it's an actual ink color, what we call a spot color. So I am going to put it in large view list, okay? So we know that the colors that we're looking for now are listed right here. So I can put in this search bar here. Watching the little wheel go around here. Okay. So I can put in 7547. And so this comes up with a really dark color. Not so sure why it's that dark, but it is. And so I want to put that color over here. Okay, so you see that one. So the next color is 7744. So that one looks pretty good. I'm going to drop that over there. And then this one with the dash, we don't have those. I don't know if they're from Fabric, Swatches, or something else, but they're not in the Adobe system. So I just put 715. So I'm going to drop that one in here. And then this magenta one also is a hyphenated. So we're not going to be able to do those. Okay. So what we can do is we can click on this box. we can grab the eyedropper. Make sure you're not getting the measure tool. You want the eyedropper tool. And I am going to use the eyedropper to select this beige color. Okay, and then I'm going back to the arrow, selecting this one, getting the eyedropper again, and I'm going to grab this pink color. Okay, so now this one doesn't look right to me either. It's not what was in that scene and all that. Sometimes they're just trying to match as best that they can. So I'm going to use the eyedropper for this one. So basically we got two colors out of going through this, but I want you to go through that exercise anyway because I'm going to show you. If I copy these two, copy and paste, I'm just going to stick them right here for a moment. So if I use the eyedropper to get this green from here, okay, and then I use the eyedropper to get this orange from here. They're not as vibrant, which I don't know if you can tell on my screen. The orange is closer, but this green doesn't look as vibrant. So anyway, we're not going to use those. And so for the swatches, I can just drag them up here. See the way I've got this window, it turns blue there. That puts that in there. So anything that I'm using or not using, I can drag them in and out, okay? So now what we're going to do is, if you haven't already, you would take your letters. So if I had, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Let me delete this. In Illustrator, you can just click and add text. So I'm going to make it a giant D, and I can go and hold down the Shift key and drag from that corner, and it makes it bigger. This is still type that I could change that letter. So if I wanted it to be an F or a lowercase f, then what you'll do, if you haven't done it already, you take that letter and you go up into type and you create outlines. So now that I've got that outline, let me copy again and paste. So if I intersect these two letters, and let me make one a different color so you can see what's not that color, this color, and this color to see what's happening. So you can see where they overlap here. So I'm going to grab by dragging over both of these. The other way you can grab is to click something, hold down the Shift key and click the other thing, and go to the Pathfinder tool, which is these two interlocking boxes. And I'm going to hit this one that breaks it up into all different pieces. Now it doesn't look like anything happened when I clicked that, but in fact something did happen because each one of these is a different piece now. So I can go and grab that and change the colors where they overlap if I want. But I don't have to either. I could leave them not overlapping. I could go and take this one color here and I can leave it green, and then you don't, it looks like it just plays with it. So all of these have different bits around them. So I would go in here using my eyedropper tool and grabbing different colors. And so I could grab, I like the idea of the eye overlapping being a different color. So I could put, and then make this one. I'm going to use my Shift key to grab multiple pieces at the same time. So if I make this one say green, where they overlap, holding down the Shift key to grab both these at the same time, I might make those pink. So I like the way that looks. So I'm going to show you some things that might help you gear around your composition. The thing I want to show you is the layers. Okay. One thing I also want to point out, if you aren't seeing as many tools that I have here, you'll want to go to Window and go to Workspaces and make sure you have Essentials Classic clicked. Essentials Classic gives you more tools open to you. And if there's anything that you don't see that you want, you would just go into this list and you would click it to turn it on. Okay? So I'm opening my layers, and so all of this is on one layer. And if I go up to this hamburger, I can say New Layer, okay? Now I'm not going to label the layer, but you can. If I label it, it messes up the video, so I'm just going to do that, and I'm going to create one more new layer. Now notice each time I create a new layer, it gives me a different color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag, see the way I'm dragging this? When it hits on there, it's going to drop it into that folder, and I don't want to do that. I want to create a blue line under the folder. Okay, so I've got one on top and one below. And so what I'm going to do with the one on the bottom is this is going to be my background. So I'm going to drag this box, which I didn't really mean to make it that color. Let me make it gray, perhaps. And I am going to leave this as my background, and I am going to lock this layer. So now it's not going to move around and get in the way. And now I want to see my composition where it's cropped though. So this is, I'm going to go to this first layer, and I'm going to grab the rectangle tool, and I'm going to create a box here. And then the eyedropper, I can actually eyedrop the background. See the way that took the color of the background? So it's a box, but it's the background color. So I'm going to copy and paste that and put it over here. And I am going to tidy it up. I'm going to take both of these, copy and paste, and then when you hover on the corner, you can rotate. So if I hold down the Shift key, it will let me rotate in 45-degree increments, so it keeps it. So there, now I can see my composition. So I can lock this layer too, so now I can move around in this layer, and that frame stands there. So maybe I don't like the way this is cropped, and I want to move it down a little, which is sort of late right now. I should have shown this last week because now that ruins that aspect of the composition. But you could always draw a new a new ampersand or something else. At this stage, you can still go and change something. I can move that and move these two F's in here if I want, okay? But I still do like this ampersand. So now you can go in and select different parts. I'm going to grab this letter here. I'm going to fill it with this beige. And I want to show you that in some cases, there's actually the fill of some of these shapes, whoops, will have separated in the, when you were making, there we go. So, nope, it's not. So I might want to create these negative shapes. So what I can do, this is a little trick, you can take the ellipse and you can drag it over that shape to make sure it's covering the whole thing. You can go to the eyedropper and pull a different color, and then you can say arrange and send it back. So I have filled in that negative area. If you have in your regular negative area like this that you would also like to fill in, I'm going to start with this rectangle. So I'm going to make a rectangle that fills that whole area right now. Okay, I'm going to make it an outline so I can show you what I'm doing. So the way Illustrator works is we've got this shape and it's got these points. These are center points here, and then these are points that I can manipulate. If I unclick and I hover over the line with the white arrow, I have to be on the white arrow, and I click here, notice I get these 4 points here. I can move these points around. You see that? Okay. Now I want to make it fill in this negative area, so I need to play with this box. So I can go up to this, my pen tool, and if I click on that, it's got a plus sign. So I can click to add a few more points on this line, right? And then I go back and get my white arrow tool, and I can move those points around like this. And then I'm going to go up here, and I need some more points on here, so I can just go back and add a few more. Oops, I didn't click on it hard enough. A few more points, and then go back to my white arrow. So your white arrow allows you to manipulate the points, and the black arrow is for moving things as a whole object. So it's very important to get the nuances of what each arrow does. And so then I can fill this. So here I've got the fill and the outside, so I can toggle this and switch it back. So that's my fill. And then I can go up to Object, Arrange, and Send to Back. And you want to send it back and not backwards. And so then I've filled in that negative space. And so it still isn't going behind my background because my background is on a separate layer. Where if I had my background on the same layer, every time I said something to back, it would have gone behind that background. So I hope that helps you there. So another thing I want to show you about these colors is playing with these colors. If I go up into here, it's CMYK, you see that? And so if I were to go into this green that I picked before, so remember that was the Pantone color, so it's not CMYK like these other ones. So it was the green and the orange. They are Pantone colors that are spot colors. So if I leave them like this, it's fine. If I were to have this printed, I would need to, with the real printing press, I would be printing with all these 5 different color inks. And the printer would put all these different color inks on the press. And so there would be no CMYK. They'd just be printing this green and this orange and this gray and the magenta. And I used to do work like that all the time, especially for fancy invitations. And then you could have a varnish and all this different stuff. But now we really use CMYK all the time, which, as you can see, the colors weren't as vibrant, but they're pretty close. So I can switch this by clicking here on that little icon, and it changed it to CMYK. So you see this formula here. It's 54.15 and 93.6. So if I were to be creating a big project where I'd be using these same colors again and again, I might want to modify that. So let me take these and copy them and paste them for a moment. And I'm going to bring them up here. And so instead of, I'm going to click this to make it CMYK. So see, it's 32.28. So if I just round this to 32, so I can click right in there and make that 32. This 15.27, I can make that 15. The 100 stays the same. And the 0.15, I'm just going to delete all that black because black can make something a little muddy. So now this color, whoops, it didn't get rid of I can also use the slider that just got rid of the black. So it isn't as vibrant as it was, but we're splitting hairs here. And so I could do the same thing for this. And then these also, they came up with a different formula. So I could make this 8. And then sometimes I might actually want to go and adjust something. You're not doing that for this project. You're really using the colors that you get here. But sometimes I'll look at something and I will, play with making the magenta a little more intense and maybe pulling out some of the yellow, and then I get a totally new color. And when I work, I actually like to put up these squares. I do this all the time, and I start playing with them. Again, this isn't for this project because you're taking them from the actual photographs, but I like to look at them, and I look at them and I say, all right, you know what? I don't see color harmony here. When I look at these, I think these are fairly in harmony, but this green looks a little intense. So if it's too intense, I can add the complement, which is a little bit of magenta. So that brought it down. This looks very purplish. It doesn't feel like it has enough yellow, like these have a lot of yellow in them. So I might add some more yellow, which is warming that up. Or maybe I pull back on the magenta. Now that looks sort of not as vibrant now because it's got too much cyan in it because it's got a bit of the complement. So I might push up the magenta and the yellow, and then I get more of a richer color. So you can play with these and see if that's got balance. I think it still has too much magenta. So you can play with that. And that's how the you know, this color studies that we're doing is sort of coming full circle, because when you're mixing colors, if you're a fine artist, you can mix the complement. And when you're a digital artist, you can just see how you play with knowing what colors, your analogous colors that look nice together, or, you know, when I picked this palette, I like these two colors. They're both really warm colors and they are more analogous, but then the green is a complement of the pink, the magenta. So that's, and then we've got some neutrals in there, but the neutrals aren't, there's still a cool neutral because it plays against the warm colors here. So here's our color studies coming into practice. Okay, so I hope this helps. So you'll finish up your lovely composition playing with moving the bits of color, filling them in all over.